bringing this MCV, but the enemy's there straight away, and my army value is dwindling, and I'm trying to get a strong position to receive the enemy, add base defences, but I've realised quickly this is going against me, so the MCV's got a retreat, and I'm at 6,000 army value, my opponent's at 13,000 army value, so they're more than double.
Battle control initialized.
Hello there, comrades and cannon fodder, it's Dvoid here. I've got 1v1 multiplayer game. We're on Timian map for this one. I'm using Russia and my opponent's using Germany. I've got my usual red colour. I'm in the top left here. My opponent's in blue in the bottom right. And I like Russia and Germany matchup. It's one of my favourites. I class them as the two of my favourite factions, although when I do use allies I use France. But I think Germany is better. You just have to get to the higher tech level to get their main abilities, like the chrono tanks and the advanced chronosphere. You can teleport 13 vehicles in anywhere on the map, or you can teleport a large patch of enemy vehicles, like something like that space that takes up 13 cells. So if the enemy use 5 Iron Curtain vehicles on you, you can teleport them away and let the Iron Curtain run out harmlessly, or teleport them into a pond, for example. So if your enemy attacks and you get an opportunity where a few of their tanks are in a small area, with Germany you can use the advanced chronosphere to teleport them away. And like I say, just teleport them into a pond or something. Let that be the end of it. Or teleport them among pre-prepared base defences, say, somewhere. So where you've got a few turrets, teleport them there. But as it is, we've both captured... well, I've captured this oil derrick with my engineer, and I'm moving towards my second, but my opponent didn't take this one. I wonder why. They've gone for this one. Yeah, I lost a rifleman moving up this way because I was checking where the enemy was, but I've moved these two hoping to catch the enemy's engineer on its way, but I'm going by the timing of my own engineer, assuming that my opponent has captured this one first, and I haven't. They're going for this one second, but I still should have moved those down just to try and catch the enemy engineer. You never know. I was obviously distracted somehow, and I chose to leave these rifles here and this rifleman there to guard this oil derrick, while I'm now gathering units here to go with my engineer and try and capture this one. Looks like my opponent's gathering units here. They've got a base defense there, and now they're capturing this one. A little unusual. Now I've started training my first rocket soldiers. Got 4 of them. But I'm not advancing any further without a vehicle, and there you go, there's my APC. So I can move forward now, but I have left these rifles here, which means I may face a stronger enemy force, because I've left units elsewhere, and I've got units scattered about. Right, there's a few infantry going up that way, obviously on a scouting mission. And there's the enemy ranger. There's no units in it. And because I saw that ranger picking off my scouts and guard units, I thought I'll put the engineer inside the APC to keep it safe. And I wanted to move my units this way and then in front to attack the enemy units guarding their oil derrick without moving through the oil derrick's view range. But for some reason my opponent's put the units there. I'm attacking the ranger, and it's revealed my entire base to the enemy, and they've escaped. It's managed to escape. And there, look, I lost my APC to these rocket soldiers. That means I lost the engineer as well. But they're not pursuing me, and they've got medics to heal their wounded troops. That's good. Like I say about medics, the earlier the better. With any unit like that, any tech asset, the earlier you use them, the better. Because the more you'll get out of them. As soon as the allies have got the service depot, there you look, they're trained mechanics. Now, I really think that's a good idea. Because if they get the opportunity to say, capture a wreck or something, or they get their second MCV destroyed, you've got this on hand. So training mechanics and medics early like this, I agree with that. And they've got their engineer here, mechanic, some medics. I like that. Very good. I hope they get the chance to use it. They repaired the Ranger, I'm guessing, yeah. Drove around this way out of the way. And he's going to scout. Now I'm well on the scene here. I've got a base defense ready, but it got away again. It's a very lucky Ranger. It's given the enemy a lot of intel. And I've placed rifles here, look, and I still haven't found those rifles, but I'm expecting that sort of thing. Now he's only placed a few rifles, but even with these units here, look, I could still have a decent sized enemy force just waiting to attack, you know? Even with all those guards around the edges of the map, look, they've still sneaked units in. And my opponent's moving forward, but they are moving here as well. Now, this MCV is vulnerable. It's got these guys near it, but look, all of this, I could be there. You know, I've got this protected. So, look at that. I can be fairly confident that construction yard is safe. This is not. In fact, I've got units there, look, and they haven't noticed. So, that's reckless. Let's have a look at early army values. 12,000 to me, 13 to me, 14,000 to my opponent, and I'm attacking here, and they've moved their oil trucks straight out of the way. That's very good. And I'm bringing this MCV, but the enemy's there straight away. And my army value is dwindling, and I'm trying to get a strong position to receive the enemy, add base defences, but I've realised quickly this is going against me. So the MCV's got a retreat, and I'm at 6,000 army value, my opponent's at 13,000 army value, so they're more than double. And there's their mechanics, they're ordering them to capture vehicles, look, wrecks that are destroyed. This is what the mechanics, what my favourite thing about mechanics. Now you see they've got a heavy tank, and the other mechanic can repair it to full health for free. So there's, like I say, they got a chance to use them and make use of those mechanics, and it turned out to be a good thing for them to train them so early, because there you go, there's the proof. You know, they've only got one mechanic left to repair it, but it doesn't matter. They can soon train more. They're very much worth it. And we've got another MCV moving forward, and my opponent managed to hang on to this, and I'm at 10,000 army value, my opponent's at 19,000 army value. But I've moved forward to defend that, and my opponent's building up a solid position here in the centre. Now they've got a couple of tanks. Looks like they're moving on an eco raid around this direction, but I'm attacking straight away here again. And I'm moving forward here, and I've got a very small force to actually escort that MCV, but it looks like it's kind of stalled the enemy, because I've got enough units here to overrun this. They've destroyed my oil derrick at the back with those infantry. And I've overrun this position. And yeah, my opponent's trying to react. They've sold the MCV. Right, that's a bit of a mistake. They could have packed it up and driven away and been another distraction for me. It may have divided my units. I may have sent these guys off in this direction, which would lose them probably for nothing, leaving maybe just infantry alone, making this force irrelevant. You know, I would have tried to save it. Now they've got two tanks. They've carried on further back here because he actually knows he's got infantry there. Now these tanks are attacking here, so I'm reacting, and I'm thinking, my opponent's force that overwhelmed my first attack here, where is it all? Why did I catch such a small force off guard here and get away with it, I'm thinking. I'm at 10,000 army value, my opponent's at 24,000 army value, and I've got nearly my entire force reacting to these two tanks, but I have wised up and sent these forces this way, although it looks like they've changed their mind. Yeah, and I'm reacting to this eco-raid, although I saved an ore truck. And now I've got an attack on here at the same time. But they're very divided, small attacks, and I've managed to react to them because of positioning. And they've met a base defence over here, this attack force. They've got no vehicles, And now, yeah, they've destroyed the base defence, but there's one immediately to replace it, and a massive force of reinforcements joining the fight. So I've backed them off. I'm at 14,000 army value, now my opponent's at 19, so he's held on to his lead after all that. Now, I don't think there's that much very effective damage done, but he's caught this expansion off guard. My ore truck is escaping. That's got away. And I managed to save my MCV because I was under threat from so many attacks. I actually sent it over in this direction, look, to save it, send it out of the way. And luckily, my opponent hasn't searched. It would only take a rifleman going in that direction to tell them that I've got considerable assets here, meaning that conyard. Right, now, like I say, I'm aware of a large army, so I'm trying to react and predict where it is. I'm expecting a large battle. We're both at 20,000 army value now. And this small force has drawn some attention, look. That should be primary production now. Oh yeah, there you go, it is. And now I've just placed my radar dome. You see, because I've got this army here, I'm going to have to place primary production there to protect it. Now I've got 3 ore trucks, they need to do something else, because I haven't got anything mining, really. Just these here. 4 ore trucks on a small amount of income. Now I've attacked straight away, taken out one of their ore trucks, and I noticed this attack. You see my reaction there, and I thought, well, hang on a minute. I'm going to destroy these assets and do damage, because even though it's a small force here, it's something, and I'm going to try and hold these up. You don't need as much in defence to defeat a force as you do in attack. So I thought, right, the majority of my main assets are here, I'll use them, and look at that, I've overrun and destroyed a good chunk of infantry and important assets, very important structures, the oil derrick, and this force has had to retreat from a tiny defensive force without doing any worthwhile damage, and they know that that's the end of that. Look at this this surround, I've surrounded them. What's left of the enemy force, and there's a mechanic in there, but there you go, they've called it. So there you go, that was a short, but, you know, quite a brutal game, quite a good one. My opponent played very well. I enjoyed that. That was my first game of the day. That's what I got for my first game. So I'll go through the graphs and charts quickly. There's the army value, and look at the state of that. Look how far behind I was, but nice recovery. Very nice. Very interesting army graph, that. Earnings, about even, although my opponent did better for earnings all the way, except that I was slightly ahead for a minute or two, but my opponent did better for earnings all the way except for that. I needed some infiltrations from my thieves, but I had my hands full, and when I built the radar dome, I didn't end up training any thieves or any tech assets, but I've got some heavy tanks, flamers, and standard infantry. I've got a 20,000 army value. I lost 8 structures, my opponent lost 15. I killed 190 units, my opponent killed 132. I destroyed 54,000 credits worth of my opponent's assets. They got 34,000 credits worth of mine. No support powers in effect because I didn't get further than the radar dome. Building standard stuff. I managed to hang on to 1 oil derrick, this one here. I've got 8 ore trucks. I earned 86,000. Yeah, my opponent did better for earnings. They earned 91,000. And they've got plenty of cash. I could have done with some infiltrations, to be fair. That would have served me, would have been useful. Helped improve my earnings graph a little. But I was at 27 actions per minute. My opponent was at 50 actions per minute, so they were giving a lot more orders than I was. I've got a bit of cash left, like I said, each. But I'm going to add another game to this post, just so there's a little more for my viewers. So I'll go straight to that.
Battle control terminated.
That was Timian. This one is Pulverise map.
Initialized.
So we've got a 1v1 on Pulverise map. And this is one of the newer versions of Pulverise. It's had some extra ore and stuff added. Or supplies. I'm using Russia and I'm facing Germany again. It's a different opponent, but it's Russia v Germany. I'm using my usual red colour in the top right. My opponent using Germany is in blue in the bottom left. So we'll go to production for the start. Excuse me. Right, now the thing about Pulverise map is that you've got these important structures to capture, oil derricks, and there's a base defence. So when you capture that, you get the ability to train flame soldiers early, even though you don't have to pay for that, any extra. Your engineer will capture that. But what I do is I capture the closest oil derrick, get some earnings, and then I capture the flame tower before I go for the second oil derrick. And then I'll start thinking about capturing the hospital. But I've sent an infantryman trying to capture the enemy engineer. It doesn't look like they've got one at the moment. And his 2 riflemen caught my engineer out. I mean, my rifleman, my scout rifle, they caught him out. Now, my opponent's trained an engineer now. Let's just have a look how many... Well, I've trained 17, lost 1, and they've trained 13 rifles. Now, I'm capturing the flame tower. Now, it does affect the amount of power you have, because it takes up an extra 20 power, and it can make things closer with your power supply. You've got less margin for error. You can take less. You can build less defenses. You can, you have to build power plants just that little bit sooner because of that extra power demand. Now I've got a rifleman. I thought, no, I'm going to send some more units and just check, see what's happening, have a look around. And it's always, you've got to send rifles to check the enemy base. It's something I need to do more often. I've not got him on attack move or anything. It's just going to move through the base and reveal... This is what I can see. It's just going to move through the base and reveal what, hopefully, some important assets. And I've seen... Look at that. That placement doesn't look great. So I'm like, all right, okay, what's going on there? And I'm gathering my main force to protect the oil derricks. And my opponent's got some riflemen waiting by the hospital. That's a nice move, and they've actually got that protected as well. Now this is my rifle scout. He survived walking through the enemy base, and I've decided to try and figure out something to do with it. But my opponent's engineers going up there and around the edge of the map. They're not going for their own hospital, they're going for mine. It's interesting. I wonder what they were thinking. And now I've sent a rifleman to wait for the enemy engineer, see if he turns up to capture his own hospital. And because they haven't captured it, they haven't got the view range from it. Otherwise, these rifles would be able to destroy mine. My opponent's built a ranger. I've got my APC there. My opponent's got a ranger. And here we are. There's 4 rifles protecting my own, guarding my hospital. And I've heard shots going off and didn't know where it was. So my engineer has just gone to his death. So they've got a free veteran. And I soon realised that I'd lost my engineer and what it meant. And it meant that there's units over here. I knew that. Let's see. There you go. I'm reacting. It's occurred to me, finally. You can see it there. And I've got the enemy engineer because he tried to move it around there for some reason. I'm not sure why. But they've got another engineer, look, here. And I got theirs. Very nice. Can I get 1 at least? Yes, I did. Yeah, that's cool. Got their engineer and 1 rifle. That was worth it. Nice positioning. I've taken out their 4 rifles, but I haven't got the hospital. And my opponent hasn't got their hospital either. But we are both in possession of it. And they've got their ranger, look, checking around the edges of the map. That's good. Because they sent their engineer around the edge. And, if they're doing it, then, it's not that much. It's a good idea to check in case your opponent's doing it. They're doing it themselves. So why? It's a fair reasoning. So it's always good to send, because these units, like an APC or a ranger, they can check the edges of the map very quickly. So every few minutes you can do that. And look, I've got the ranger, but luckily these units were being trained just in time to protect the engineer from the enemy ranger. So I'm capturing my hospital. My opponent hasn't started capturing theirs yet. But they've got a few units on the way, and luckily these units are ready to protect my engineer, and they've got the view range of the hospital. So that was lucky, to be fair. And I've got these forces protecting my MCV. That's my second MCV, my second construction yard now. And let's just look at early army values. Yeah, I'm at 9,000, my opponent's at 5,000. They've got a couple of tanks. That looks like my first heavy tank. And I'm bringing these units forward. And they've got radar dome and helipad, and they've just got their second MCV. And they've targeted my oil derricks. So I'm trying to gather my entire force here. And as I could see, I didn't know exactly how many units my opponent had. It looks like a decent force, look, and I could see vehicles, rockets, so I thought, got to be careful, but look, there's very little there. And I sent the APC to run them through, and this force to wipe them out while they're just distracted. Did they get the oil derrick? Yes, pretty much, nearly his last shot. That was nice. They got them both, so they have taken out these, but it cost them their army. So they need to hang on to theirs. They've got a helicopter and artillery, very nice. So they know I had an army here, and they're trying to find out where it is, and I decided to see if they've built an expansion, and they haven't, but they built it here. Now, either side is fair. You could go either way for your first expansion. I've started going this way, although, to be fair, I used to go this way first. But I don't think it really matters that much. Not certain. But I've used this to guard this force, and I'm moving it round on a flank attack. But I'm at 20,000. My opponent's at 7,000 army value. That's no good. And the helicopter has discovered where my army is, and they're not targeting my rocket soldiers, they're just shot at the tank a little bit. But the artillery is sending shells in. The first shell missed. Second shell. Don't fire at the tank though. And let's see what the raw trucks are up to. And I've sent this other force to attack this here, hoping there's an expansion. And I've realised I've lost my tank quickly. And I couldn't save that one in time. I'm trying to, look. I gave it a move command, but I couldn't. And now I'm surrounded and getting pounded by this artillery. So I've stopped my troops, and I'm trying to do as much damage as I can to enemy ore trucks. They shouldn't have allowed their ore trucks just to keep mining. They could have moved them all back and now carried on mining. In fact, they could have told them all to drop their ore off. They wouldn't have had to interrupt their mining, in a sense. They could have just ordered all of them to drop their ore supplies off at the refinery, destroy my force, and then they'd continue mining as normal. That would have been the best option. Tank wiped out, and I've had to fall back because while they've got artillery and base, they've got the base view range from base structures, vehicles, I thought, I've got to back off. But I've got a 13,000 army value after that. My opponent's at 6,000, so they did use what tech they had quite well. And they kept this alive, even though I did try and pursue it with my tanks. But they've lost an expansion here. Let's have a look at their economy situation. Very little cash, and they've got 2 ore trucks. So they need to set up an expansion and protect it. They've actually got ore here. They don't have to expand. They can build up a defensive force. But I'm taking these, and they'll be able to see them. But I've got these 2 infantry waiting to tell me when the enemy advance. And as soon as they do, I'm gonna, I've got these guys protecting the engineer. He's been given a shift command to back away. And when I didn't know which side the enemy were going to go, and I didn't know how many units they had. Look at that, nice artillery shots. But I thought, if the front line's here, and artillery's there, I might be able to catch the artillery while it's vulnerable, and I did. I managed to. I didn't realise how small a force I was up against. I was being too cautious. But, I did everything by the book in a way, and overrun this force, but they saved their MCV again, and now they've sent these forward, whereas they should be here, and another vehicle there. But it's obviously it's done by this point. They've got no army value, and they haven't expanded anywhere. Or they did, but I overran them. So so I tried to save that APC. Look, I wanted to save it, and I'm bringing the MCV forward. I've got an expansion, and my opponent's calling it there. This was my first expansion. That's all I did, really. That's all I moved to, except for the MCV following me here. But I thought I'd tack this one on because I like this map, and it was just a little bit of extra gaming content for you. I'll just quickly rush through. Yeah, there's your graph. It's standard stuff. Earnings was close contest. Yeah, large army value. My opponent killed 120 units. I only killed 106, so they did well there. They took out plenty of mine, units-wise, and I destroyed 33,000 credits worth of their assets. They got 21,000 of mine, so it was a short game, but they did okay. I'm building standard stuff. It's still early, like I say. I've hung on to... Oh, no, I didn't. I lost both my oil derricks, but I did capture theirs. So, there you go. They did mention, like I say, look, they... mainly, they haven't played many 1v1 maps and stuff, but I was at 26 actions per minute. My opponent was at 14, so they had a relaxed pace. But there you go, there's all that one, and I'll leave that there for you. So I hope you enjoyed both those games. Thank you very much for watching. Take good care of yourselves, and until next time, if you like the games, I should say, please give us a sub and a like. I should have mentioned that. But until next time, take good care of yourself. And for now, goodbye.
Battle control terminated.